Hey everyone, welcome back to my channel, Codes Otaku. So today we're going to look into an advanced topic in scripting. Well, even if it's advanced, I'm going to try to simplify. Well, those early days, I was just getting a lot of headaches about this topic because people was just making it harder for me, and it was just really difficult to understand. But with time, I began to understand the logic behind this topic that I'm going to talk about today, that you obviously seen in the title, which is tables and metatables. So yeah, I'm going to try to simplify like how I actually understand it right now after all those headaches and problems. So what is metatables? Actually, first, what is tables? Like, just as a reminder. Well, a table is just a list of elements. Well, those elements could be anything in Lua. Like, it could be any value, integer, float, number, um, string, function, bool, vector tree, any kind of object, or even another table. And by the way, a table inside the table is called nested table. As the loop that are inside the loop, it's called nested loop and stuff like that. So just as a extra term to keep in mind. Okay, so yeah, that's the tables, and now, of course, there's a lot to talk about tables, but I actually made a tutorial earlier about tables, so I won't go deeper into tables today. I'm more interested into metatables today. So what is metatables? Metatables is just like, it's a table, it's a regular table, but you can attach it or set it to another table, and so that metatable will control the behavior of the attached table. Okay, well, actually, let's open up a script here so we can understand what's going on here, okay? So we have our table, which is called X, okay? It has this values. Well, let's give it some values, maybe like 10. Just like some values, I don't care. And then let's make a meta table, which I'm just going to call MT, stands for meta table, okay? For now, just going to be an empty table. First of all, how we can set. So as you see, a meta table is just a normal table also. So we can set the meta table to another table. And so this MT, or the meta table, will control this X table. In this case, well, let's do set meta table, and this is a built-in function in Lua, and then you give it the table that you want to attach to some meta table, which is X in this case, and MT. Okay, great. Now this is good. We have two types of assignments of metatables. You can do something like this, and then just get this, and then like that. Okay, but make sure that the MT is before. But this is more readable, so I'm just going to let it be like this. Now, since the meta table is empty, there's no behavior defined, and so there's no modification on our X table because the meta table doesn't contain any meta method. So the meta methods is the functions, some defined functions in Lua that you can put in the meta table, and so sorry, every function have a modification of the behavior on the table. So there is multiple like meta methods. There is the call meta method, and of course here I have two of these things. I don't know what you call it, but yeah, there's two of them there. That's one of the things that confused me in the beginning of metatables. And there is index, there is new index, there is add, mill, wish, add, use, thing. It's used for operator overloading. What I mean with this operator overloading is that you can control the behavior of addition between two tables of the same, well, actually, like, well, yeah, you control the addition between that table that the meta table is set to or attached to, and with the other operand. And you can even do your own checks for the other type operands. So we're going to look for that later. I'm just going to list, there's a lot of meta tables, but I'm just going to list those actually for now. Just those. Or actually, let's not go with operator overloading for this episode at least, because it's slightly not necessary a lot, except if you're making a new data type with this meta tables. But for now I'm just going to stick with those here. Okay, so I have call, index, new index, toString, and len. So this is the meta methods that I'm going to cover today. At least I hope so. Now let's do empty dot. Let's create a method. So I'll choose a meta method of the list. I'm going to post down the link to the list of methods, all the meta methods, but for now we're just going to use one of those, okay? So first of all, I want to cover this call meta method. So two of these, empty points two of these things, and then call equal to a function, which obviously doesn't have any name because we already called it here. We can do even the same thing like this, function empty.call. Yeah, you can even do this. Well, that's more better, I think. So yeah, and this empty.call gives you a table, okay? Well, let's call it table. Well, what's that table is, it's the actual table that the meta table is attached to, okay? So let's try to print table 1, okay? 1. And of course, as you know, not like other languages, in Lua tables start with index 1. So just as a side note, run output. Well, there's nothing. Why? Oh, because I didn't call the table. So I should call the table to trigger this function, okay? Or to call this function. Well, how you call a table? Simply as you call a function. Well, this meta method help you to make a table, like render it as a function, like you can call it. And so when you try to call it as a function, it triggers this function and give you the table that you're working on currently, okay? And it does all the stuff that you given it here. Alright. Now, how you can call it. So we have our table, which is x, and I'm just going to call it like this. As a function, as you see. Well, it's not a function, it's a table, but using this meta method, we can call the table now and define the behavior of calling, which right now is just printing the first index of the table. So let's look for the output right now. And as you see, we have 10. So after we called it here, it looked for if there is any meta table attached to this table, which is x. Now it looked for x and it found that there is a meta table which is empty, the table empty. And so let's see the empty. It looked for a function called call, which is a meta method of calling a table. It looked for it and it found it here. And well, it's given us the table, which is currently, or in this case, it's the x table. And then we just printed table 1, or the first index of the table x. Great. Pretty simple, huh? Now, what if we didn't set the meta table into the x table? Let's run now and see what the result is. And as you see, it attempts to call local x a table value. So normally in normal circumstances, you can't call a table because simply it's a table. But if you added or attached to a meta table which had the call meta method, then you can actually call that table without any problems. And with the behavior defined, like you define the behavior of calling, what you want the table to do or to return when you actually call that table as a function or use it as a function. So yeah, that's simple until now. Now I'm just going to actually comment this out so we can see what's gonna happen if there isn't this meta table here. Okay? Well, wait. Test and run. Okay, so now the same thing, because right now there is a meta table attached which is empty, but we didn't declare the meta method call, so we didn't define the call meta method in that meta table, and so the same result as there is no meta table. And so yeah, just as proof that this is the one that it's actually making this kind of behavior. But when there is the call meta method, then it just going to trigger this function as I told you before. Okay, now let's do something interesting. I want when someone calls the table as a function, I want to return the sum of this table elements. Okay, great. Now how I can do this? I can do it by using a loop, of course. So for index or I, comma v, or let's call it value maybe, in pairs x, or actually not x, we should use this table, this argument. Okay, for I comma value in pairs table do print, or not actually print, let's make a variable here called result, which is going to, or actually it's called the sum, equal to 0, and then we're going to loop through all these values and add it to this sum. So sum equal to sum plus value. Okay, great. Now what we can do, we need to return the sum that we have here. Okay, now here is our code after setting the meta table and meta method and everything's up. Sum equal to that, okay? Equal to calling x, or the result of calling x. Now let's print the sum so we can see if that worked or not. And as you see, 65, which is the total of 10 plus 20 plus 35, because we've done that in the meta method called call. So yeah, that's great. Now that we know what is the call, but before going to another one, I just want you to know something else that is really important here. There is something called LUA sugar, okay? Which what you can do is, if you done here a colon in place of a point, then you can just, you don't need this, the first argument, okay? Which is past, which is the table, the actual table that we're working on. But you're going to ask me now how I can use it. So as you see, table and non-global table. Well, when you done this, then the first argument is stored or hide as self. So in place of table, now you can just do self. Okay? So without actually defining it. And the same thing. So this is the same thing as this. Really the same thing, but this looks more better, natural, like self. You're actually operating on yourself, or that function that you're working on, or meta table is attached to it, or so yeah. That's what I mean by this. Okay, now let's try another meta method. Function well. Let's go with len, or actually let's go with toString for now, because it's the easiest one in here. Now before actually doing this, let's try to print the table x. Okay, so I'm going to try to print the table x. Let's run. Now when you try to print the table or the table x, it just returns this, a hexadecimal number of the table memory address. Okay, but what if we don't want that when you print or like behave or render a table as a string, or like you wanna call it something like that? We don't want that ugly number here when you try to print the table. You just want something else. Okay, so how we can do that? We can use the meta method toString. And it may sound like used before, because there is a function called toString like this. But since we're using the print function, it automatically does this method toString for us without us doing it. Okay. Now print x function toString, of course empty and colon, so I don't need to declare the self variable here. Now what I want, for example, I want when you try to print the table X that it returns the average of these values, of all the values. So how we can do that? Local av, or average, stands for average, equal to 0, or actually not sure about that yet, but anyway, let's just make it 0 for now. For I, comma, value in pairs x do. Now what we want to loop through these numbers, okay? So first, I think I'm going to do something about it. Well, wait. Okay, I'm going to do self 1. I'm going to initiate it as the first element in the first element in the table. So what I'm going to do is AV equal to AV plus value divided by 2, and I think that will work. Not sure, but we'll see. Return f. And just to simplify this, let's just do 30 and 1. Let's see, 22.5. By the way, well, let's do this now. If AV, then do this, else then AV equal to value. What about this? And 22.5. It should return 20 normally. So oh, I'm stupid. I'm really stupid. Well, I should do 0. I should first calculate the sum of all this, okay? For I, comma, v in pairs x do sum equal to sum plus v, and then when I calculate all the sum of all the values in the table, then I'm going to return the sum divided by the length of the table, or how much elements is there in the table. So sum divided by length, which is hashtag self, which is going to give us the length, and in this case it's 3, and the sum will be 10 plus 20, which is 30, and then 60. Then 60 divided by 3, it means 20. Okay, I just keep pressing Control S to save because that's a habit of me, so that's why it pops up. So here we go, it given us 20, and so even if we added something here, it's going to return, when we print the x, it's going to return the average. As you see, that's it. Okay, we can try something else. We can return a random number or random value from that table when you attempt to print the table. So how we can do that? Simply return x math.random. So we're picking a random index between 1 and the length of the table. By the way, self here and not x here, self. So even if we attach this meta table to another table, not the x, it will work for that table, not the x, okay? So yeah, that's why we're using self in place of the x table. So you have 30. You choose a random number or random value, which is 30 or the index 3. And as you say, around right now, and giving me another value randomly from that table. So that's so great. Great. Now let's go to another meta method, which is the index meta method. Okay, so what is this? Now this, well, first of all, let's give some values for our thing. Well, I'm going to make it as a dictionary for now. Or actually, let's just keep it simple. Actually, let's go with like the same thing and just leave it as it was anyway. So what is this index method? So first of all, actually, before doing this, let's see what happens when you try to index a value or an index that it's not in the table. Okay, so let's try to do that. So x print x, the index of 1 2 3 4 5 6 7 8. So let's try 8, which is the last element in the table, which is 283, and as you see, 283. But what if we try 9, which is obviously it's not there. The last value is at the index 8, which is 283, which we just printed right now. But now we're trying to access the index 9. How is that? Now let's run and see what can happen. So it actually returned nil. Actually, in other languages, it just errors. I told you that this index is out of range and it just throws an error at you. But in LUA, it just returns for you nil. That's it. But we can control this. Okay, we can control this using the meta method index. So that what it is, index. So yeah, now let's just increment this so we can use it. Empty index. Empty index. It's going to give us self also, but also not just the table that we're working on or self, but also the property or the index that we're trying to get, but it's not there. Okay, so I'm going to call it here index. Now let's print, for example, when, or actually just if there's no value, let's error, for example, as the other languages, the error when you try to access some index that is out of range of the table, then it just errors. So let's just do it here. Error this, well, let's do index is, let's wait, index is out of range. Okay. For example, 9 is out of range of the table. Alright, here we go. Now we can run this, I think. Yeah, let's see. And as you see, it's given me the source, which is server script service.script in the line 11, and in the column 9 is out of range 9, or actually not. 9 is out of range of the table. Okay, so as you see, 9, which is our index that we try to access, which is not in range of that table, or nil in that table, and it just returned or errored. 9 is out of range of the table. So simple. Now we can do something else. We can, for example, return just 0 instead of nil. We just want to return 0. So let's see, just return for us 0, too simply. What if we want to not sure what to do here. Like as an example, I don't have any example. Well, let's try with another values. I'm going to go with the dictionary. I'm going to have a name, okay? Well, let's call this employee, okay? The name is equal to Steve Jobs, like, I don't know, I don't know, so let's just leave that there. Name, or let's go with Kosovac. Anyway, well, for example, age equal to 16, and then like class equal, like, I don't know. Well, let's go with something else. For example, so yeah, something like that. Now, and we have another table, which is defaults. So what this default holds will just return default values for this if it's not there. Name equal to unknown. Age equal to unknown for now. Let's go actually with 20, for example. So if he doesn't declare his age, we're just going to inject into the system. Well, let's go with nil. And class, if he didn't, then we're just going to inject nil also. Or actually, let's just go with something in 20. Let's do, for example, here, I don't know, 15 maybe, I don't know, just put in some values there, like salary, like a normal employee will have, just like 100 salary, I don't know, just put there some values, and of course don't forget the comma. Okay, now in the index, what we want, well, better to call this property now. It doesn't really matter, but just to be clear, let's call it property. So what I'm going to do is, if self property, okay, then if self property, then return self property, else return default, which is the table that we made here, which just contains some data, and we're going to give it property. So what I'm doing here is try to see if there is a value of that property. For example, we want the name of this. Well, let's just try. Let's call this, oh, we changed it from X, so I should change it here also, employee. Now let's do print employee dot age, for example. Well, run. Let's see 16. Print employee dot name, and here we go, employee dot age, which is 16, and employee dot name, which is Otaku. And now let's try with employee dot class, which of course it's not defined in this table. So what normally it should do is returning the default value from this default table dot class. So let's see what's going on here. And so the first error that you should be aware of, I know that this will occur, but I just wanted to let you know this error because probably, or not probably, actually a lot of new people into metatables will get into this error and don't know what is this. So see Stack Overflow. Now let's analyze what's going on here. So as I told you, the index meta method runs when there is no index. Then if there is no index, well, actually here we don't even need this, okay? Because this will run just if there is no index, okay? So let's just do end here, just return default property, and let's just try this again. And here we go, age, codes Otaku, and 15, which is the class, and it came from here because there's no class there. But let's actually see why there was that error. Because we was trying in the index, we're trying, if we tried like in the meta method index inside it, if we try to index a property that it's not there, then it's going to call the index again, and so it's just going to go in a loop and just like stay calling the function again and again and again and again forever. And so Lua will just detect that and return for you C Stack Overflow because you made a lot of recursions. But if you don't want to get in there, like you don't know if the property will be there or not, you're not sure, and so if there's no property there, then your game will crash because that will return a C-stack overflow, or at least your script, and so that's not what we want. So there is something called get raw. Well, raw get actually. So what this does, you give it the table that you want to get from, which is in this case self, and property. Okay, so raw get, and then you give it the table that you want to get from and the property that you want to get. So what this does is just ignores the meta table completely. You just get the raw table and try to access that property that you've given it. So simple. It just ignores the meta table completely, like it's not there. Even if the property is not there, it's not going to call the index method, it's just going to get the value. If it's not there, then it's just going to return nil. So yeah, that's it really. So that what raw get function, built-in function, is designed for. And the same thing goes for raw sets, which I won't go into right now because it's for another meta method, which is the new index. And so I actually explain new index, not actually index, call, and to string. Now there's just len and new index for this list. At least I'm going to cover next episode. So yeah, bye for now, and of course keep creative, or be creative.